Okay, welcome everyone. This workshop is Baby Sign, 25 Early Signs to Use Today. My name is Megan Olowinski. I'm a speech and language pathologist at the Early Steps Integrated Preschool in Watertown. I've been using sign language for, over 40 years now. And I would call myself preschool fluent. I have had some experience conversing with people in the deaf community, but it's definitely one of those things that if you don't use it, you lose it. I took American Sign Language as a foreign language in college. I've used it a lot in my profession as a speech and language pathologist. I have supported various library programs, the Infant Lap Sit at the Belmont Public Library. I've supported them in the past with Infant Sign, and I've been doing this workshop for a couple of years. So I have a lot of experience with sign language, and so let's get started. All right, so why sign? You think a lot of people, when they think of sign language, they think, well, my child can hear, so what's the point? Why would I use sign? And here are 5 good reasons to use signs before words. Typical children learn signs before words. There's many reasons. We're going to get into them a little bit more, but just kind of in general, children will learn signs before they learn words. Gestures help establish social skills. Gestures help establish cognitive skills, and our brains can process signs better because they're using visual pathway and a motor pathway. And there's a lot of empirical evidence that we're going to go through to support using sign language, or using signs to help support language. So virtually all children who are learning to talk use gestures before they use spoken words. So the way language is acquired is we have gestural, oral, and written, and we learn to use language in this order. So first, children gesture to communicate their wants and needs, and then they use a word to represent the meaning behind a gesture. So the ability to purposefully communicate develops around 6 months of age, which is well before humans have muscular control for speech. So, infants are not able to speak at 6 months, but they can clearly communicate wants and needs at 6 months of age. Producing gestures only requires control of large muscle groups in comparison to the small muscle groups needed for speech. Eventually, kids will learn to use the gestures to represent the spoken word. Babies use gestures to communicate their wants and needs, which I mentioned before. This could be a point, they're pointing at the bottle or their blanket or their favorite toy, or they reach for something, or they grab you and pull you. Those are all forms of gestural communication. And typically developing children eventually learn to map orally produced words over the meanings they have learned to express through gesture. So they can form more pathways to learn words if they have learned some signs for them as well. Another reason number 2, gestures and signs help establish critical social skills for communication. So early gestures help babies connect with their environment and develop social skills before they can produce words. They learn they can control their environment through communication. Some of the examples I'm going to provide are going to show how motivating this control of the environment is. And gesture signs are a powerful catalyst to continue to communicate. So, for example, the child raises their arms to be picked up. The adult picks up the child. The child has now learned that he or she can control his environment. The child learns that deliberate actions can, on their part, can shape the behaviors of others. So if they do something, you will do something, and they can change your behavior. I'm sorry, we have some people coming in. The child more easily maps oral words on the communication function previously expressed only through gesture. So as they reach up and you say, oh, you want to come up, now they're hearing that word, they're associating it with the gesture. And the child learns that communication gets results. So as they learn that communication gets results, they're more likely to continue their effort to communicate with others. An example here is a baby uses the sign for more, and they get more of the desired object or item. You know, if they sign more for milk and they get more milk and they're super happy, they're like, hey, that was really awesome. I'm going to try that again. I'm going to try that with the cookies or the goldfish or the yogurt next time and see if I can get some more. So it's really motivating for them to continue this. And children who do not establish a functional communication system at early stages of development are less and less likely to initiate communicative attempts. So kids who don't use as many gestures as babies may not be as motivated to communicate because they're not getting their needs met as effectively. So the sooner children learn that they can control their world through communication, regardless of the mode, the better. And so gestures and signs can really help babies communicate earlier. Gestures, signs help establish critical cognitive skills for communication. So one cognitive skill children need to be able to communicate effectively are imitation skills, and this is a cognitive foundation for learning language. Children who have difficulty imitating can be guided hand over hand with a sign or a gesture, and children can compare their gestures to adults. So signs are much easier to imitate than words. As I said previously, signs use large muscle groups, whereas speech uses very small muscle groups, so they're harder to control. It is impossible to guide a word orally. You can't control someone's voice box. You can't really control their tongue and lip and jaw placement to produce words, but you can take your child's hands in yours and put them together and make the sign for more. So there can be some physical manipulation or help if necessary. Once a gestural imitation is mastered, children have the foundation skills necessary to move on to more demanding skills of oral imitation. So kids imitating you, babies imitating you, doing what you do, it's a really important cognitive skill for learning how to speak. The other cognitive skill they're gaining is symbolic function, which is a critical cognitive prerequisite. And this is the ability to understand that one thing can stand for another. So words are symbols for their reference, and gestures are too. And as we said, children can understand and use gestures earlier than words. And so it's a really positive thing to start signing as early as you can. Reason number 4, children's brains process gestures and signs more efficiently than words. So some children have a difficult time retaining a spoken word long enough to process it. They forget it as soon as they hear it. But if we show a sign, we can hold the visual for as long as the child needs. So if we say the word milk, it's a very short word, it's over quickly, it kind of goes in and out very quickly. But if we sign milk, we can hold that sign for them a little bit longer and help them really make that association. Signs stimulate both the visual and auditory neural pathways in the brain. So if you say milk, they're now getting that auditory and visual pathway stimulated. And the visual cortex matures faster than the auditory cortex, which again is another great reason to start signing early. And reason number 5, this is our final reason to use signs. Studies have proven that using signs to help children learn to talk is beneficial. So studies from infants to toddlers to school-age children all show that children said words more quickly and learned more words when signs were used. So There's some really strong research to support introducing sign language or signs early. Some things to consider. Introducing signs will increase your child. Introducing signs will not increase your child's language abilities. Language is more complex than single words. If you know a few words in another language, for example, if I know a few words in Spanish, I cannot fluently converse with someone who is a native Spanish speaker. We use morphology, syntax, and pragmatics to make up language. So we are learning signs today, not language. And that is important to consider, that these are just introducing first words. It's giving your kids another way to learn them. But the reason this is called baby sign and not baby sign language is that we're not really going into the complexities of language during this. More things to consider. Make sure that you're signing during meaningful times, such as reading, feeding, meal times, bathing, and diapering, to provide the appropriate contextual support. If I'm sitting here signing milk, you all know what milk is, but your baby doesn't know, really hasn't associated what milk is yet. So going, oh, milk, you're like, oh yeah, that's great. That's so fun. But they're not able to make that connection that when I do this, I get that white stuff in my cup or my bottle. Practice signing with both your voice on and off. Sign while pairing with a verbal word and without indicates to the baby that the sign has meaning without the sound. So we don't want them to think, we want them to know that this sign for milk means milk, whether you say milk with it or not. It may even promote linguistic flexibility down the road. So it might help them learn language later. Use signs with hand shapes that are developmentally appropriate. All of the signs that are going to be introduced today will have hand shapes that are developmentally appropriate. So you want to start with signs with easy hand shapes that your child will be able to use. You also want to make sure that you notice your baby's nonverbal messages. Pause often and give your baby a chance to send messages. You might notice that they're telling you more than you thought they were. Be your baby's interpreter. If they notice something, say what they're pointing to. So if they're, really excited and pointing over there, and you say, "Oh yeah, that's a book. That's a farm book. Let's look at the book." Use natural gestures for like come, yes, no, and facial expressions to help prepare your baby to interpret nonverbal messages as well. Make signing fun. So not only doing it during meaningful times, but we want this to be a fun time for your baby. And if you have any concerns about your baby's communication development, contact a speech and language pathologist. And you can find one through your pediatrician or early intervention. Okay. So we are going to get into it. All right. The first sign, one of the most popular ones, is mom. So you're going to make a 5 hand and up to your chin. So female signs are referenced on the bottom half of your face, and male signs are referenced on the top half of your face. So dad is very similar to mom, but at the top. So mom was down at the chin and dad is up here. I can't see any of you. If anyone has questions throughout, again, please feel free to ask. When I do this in person, I can give feedback right away. Mom and dad are kind of easy. It is just the 5 shape. But I do want you to, if you have any questions at all, make sure that you ask. Okay, the sign for eat is made with what we call the O shape. So we're not going over the alphabet today because I want to use just really simple ones, but this is the letter O, and you bring that up to your mouth, and your mouth can be closed. So eat. drink is made with a C shape, the letter C. And you just, again, you tilt it to your mouth so you can think of a cup, holding a cup, and that's the sign for drink. You'll notice that a lot of these are pretty intuitive. The sign for hungry is that same C shape that we used for drink, only you're going to bring it from your throat to your belly to kind of symbolize food going to your belly. Thirsty is a pointer finger pointing at your throat. And again, you know, when you take a drink, it slides down your throat. So you bring that pointer finger down your throat. The sign for milk, I've used a couple of times already. That is that C shape, and you're just gonna open and close into an S. So when I learned this sign, the teacher said, think about milking a cow, which I've never forgotten. The sign for finished, you may already be doing this one. This is these two open hands, and you're just shaking them out to the side. Finished or all done. You can also do all done by bringing your hands flat across the surface and all done out to the side. So it's really easy. Finished, all done. More I've shown already as well. That's two O shapes with your hands and bringing them together. So more. Thank you is a flat palm, starting with your fingers near your lips. You'll have a flat hand and you move your hand forward and a bit down in the direction of the person you're talking to. And we use nonverbal communication here as well. So you want to smile. Thank you. The sign for please is that flat hand again over the center of your chest, and move your hand in a clockwise motion from the observer's point of view. So use a circular motion to your left, down, and back up a few times. Please. Bath, you're going to use A shapes, which is just kind of like a fist with your thumb at the side. You're going to put them in front of your body and go up and down twice, about symbolizing, you know, washing. The sign for again is you're going to have a flat palm and your other hand is going to be slightly bent, and you're going to bring it over on top of the other one. So again, again. The sign for book uses flat hands, so they start together and you open them like you would open a book, kind of symbolizes a book opening. To go along with book, we have turn for turn the page. This is just your thumb and pointer finger, and you flip it over. So it starts flat and flip for turn. The sign for where, so you want to start asking your child some where questions. Where's your toy? Where's your shoes? Where's your blanket? Where's your shirt? Where's your head? Where's your belly? Where are your eyes? Notice here the furrowed brow. It is part of the sign. Sign language incorporates lots of nonverbal communication, and so facial expressions are a really important part of the sign. So you want to make sure you're at that questioning, where? Where? And it's just a pointer finger and it waves back and forth. Where? If you were asking a yes and no question, you might have more raised eyebrows. Do you want some milk? Do you want your blanket? The sign for bed is flat hands together to the side of your cheek. The sign for ball is open fingers. You're going to bring them together, and this kind of symbolizes a ball. Just tap, tap, ball. The sign for go is going to be 2 pointer fingers up, your thumbs tucked in, and you're going to flick your wrists forward. So go. They're up and then they're down. It's a really quick flip. And the sign for stop, you're going to have that flat palm again. Your other hand, your dominant hand, is in a flat palm as well, and it comes down in a chopping motion. So stop. The sign for play is your pinky and thumb. Your 3 middle fingers are down. They're out on both sides. Your pinky and thumb are out. This is actually the sign for the letter Y. So it's a Y handshake, and you're going to rock them back and forth. Play. The sign for happy, those flat hands again, they're going to be at your chest, and they're going to come up, like that feeling of love is coming up to your face. Happy. The other side of that is sad. And this is going to start, these open hands are going to start at the top, and they're going to come down. And as I said, facial expressions are really important in sign language. So when you're happy, you have a happy face. And when you're sad, you have a sad face. You can also use just one finger to your eye for sad, kind of like a tear coming down. The sign for my or mine, which, you know, all babies, toddlers love to use and say. It's a flat palm shake to their chest. Very intuitive. My, mine. The sign for your, flat hand again, and you gesture away. Yours, your. And the sign for time, I included here for you guys. It's just like you're tapping your watch. Time. I included this one because it's a really nice one in routines. You can pair it and start showing some 2-word combinations really easily. You can do, oh, time to eat, time to play, time to go, time for bed. So even though babies don't have a great sense of time, it's a really easy one with that watch gesture, and can be paired with other signs pretty quickly. And that's it. The images you saw were from a website called lifeprint.com. They have some great, they have a great library of signs if you're looking for things. And the information was taken from the American Speech Language and Hearing Association website. So I am going to stop the recording here.